Welcome to my second video of the Guitar Hero Summer of Rock. Still working on that title. Today's review is for Giant's Last of the Runaways. Let's get ready to rock. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we've got a review of an album, part of our Summer of Guitar Hero Rock, that I still need a better title. I will come up with a better title for this, but basically what we're doing is reviewing albums that have a real sort of summery sort of feel to them, makes me think of summer, but also there's a guitar hero at the heart of it, a bit of virtuoso guitar playing that doesn't overstay its welcome but makes the songs and the album even better than it already was. So this is Giant Last of the Runaways. It's their debut album and it basically features the guitar wizardry of Dan Huff. Now the album was released at the end of the 80s in 1989, but it sort of lost its way a little bit in the transition from that late 80s to early 90s, and obviously the grunge scene, from hair metal to grunge really. But I wanted to tell you guys out there who may have not heard it, I will put the link in the description for the album so you can listen to it on Spotify. Definitely worth a listen, and also give it a follow-up, Time to Burn, listen to as well, because they're two really good albums I think a lot of people may have missed. So what's Giant all about? Well, they were formed in America in 1987. They consist of the brothers Dan Huff and David Huff. Dan Huff was on guitars and vocals, and David Huff's on drums. Then we've got Alan Pascai on keyboards and Mike Brignadello on bass. So Dan Huff was a big session player, before playing with Giant, and he played on, he played guitar on such big pop artists like Whitney Houston, George Benson, Michael Jackson even. And he also played on the USA radio version of Here I Go Again by Whitesnake. But back to the album. If you like rockers and you like power ballads and you like guitar playing like Eddie Van Halen, then this album is for you. It's my go-to summer album really. It just feels like the sort of record that you want to be tearing across the United States on Route 66, in your convertible, and it's just a real summery rock album. So we start off with the album. The first track is called I'm a Believer. It really opens with a statement by Dan Huff to show this is a guitar player that you should listen to. It's got 1 minute of like an intro, real bluesy guitar playing, and then it heads into a big sort of AOR rocker. And if you thought his guitar playing was good up to this point, then when he starts singing, you'll realise that he's a really good singer as well. A real strong performance on the vocals all through the album. It's really about being a big arena rock sort of sound. Lots of big sing-along choruses, lots of big guitar solos, all wrapped up in a real sort of hard rock songs, and big lighter waving ballads really. The second song, Innocent Days, is probably my favourite. It's another great vocal performance and a nice bluesy solo. It's a little bit more, it's not as hard rocky as the first one, but it's a really great song. Then I Can't Get Close Enough. It's a slower paced rocker before the big ballad of the album, and also their biggest hit. I think this hit the top 10 and 20 in the Billboard, US Billboard charts. I don't think it charts in the UK. And it's called I'll See You in My Dreams. It's a big power ballad. If you think of those big power ballads of the late 80s, you'll know what this is all about. The other ballads on the album are equally good. You've got Love Welcome Home and It Takes Two. They're both great songs. The latter though has got a really good guitar outro solo that's a little bit sort of wasted bit because it sort of fades out before it really sort of gets going. And the rest of the album is made up of real sort of solid radio-friendly rockers. No Way Out, Shake Me Up, and Big Pitch are all really big, summery, sing-along rock tunes that basically we don't get anymore. You think of your Bon Jovis, your Guns N' Roses, your Motley Crues, your Poisons, your Europes, your Whitesnakes. That's the sort of thing that you're thinking of. This band are up there with them, but they didn't get the recognition mainly because I think they they should have released this album maybe 2 years before, and they would have been all over MTV at the time. Just a few years later. The second album, as I said, is called Time to Burn, and I think that the songwriting on that is a little bit better. The songs are a little bit longer. There's less of the sort of fading out of the guitar solos. But by that time, you know, that came out I think in 91 or 92. You know, grunge was starting. It was in full force then, and it got lost quite easily. And by the time Giant 3 came around, you know, things were definitely, you know, a lot more not in that sort of guitar AOR rock was just definitely not the thing. And then by the last album, which was called Promised Land, Dan Huff, the singer guitarist, wasn't even on that album. There was someone else came in, so it wasn't the same band. He was too busy at that point becoming a producer of a lot of country artists. He also produced one of the Megadeth albums, which was a bit strange because most of the time he's done a lot of stuff with a lot of country artists, and he's actually based in Nashville as well. So, as I said, when the sun is shining and you want to remember the 80s, this is a really great album. It's a real nostalgia trip for me and a real underrated guitar hero at the forefront. So, if you haven't heard it before, give Last of the Runaways by Giant a listen. As I said, I'll put the link down there in the description for you to listen to it on Spotify. But maybe you're already a big fan of Giant. Let me know what your favourite song or album by Giant was. And is there any other underrated late 80s, early 90s bands that you felt if they were released a bit earlier on in the 80s, they probably would have been massive? I'm thinking of those bands like Lillian Axe, like Winger, like Bang Tango, like Cinderella. No, maybe Cinderella were probably up there because they were probably the late 90s, but the late 80s, sorry. But there was other bands that probably didn't transition well in the 90s. I know there was a lot of bands that started doing their grunge album, even though they were a hair metal band. I'm looking at you, Warren. But you know, let's enjoy that. Let's take a trip back to the late 80s and enjoy that sort of real breezy, no responsibility, summery rock, big guitars, big choruses, and big hair. So, hope you enjoyed this little review of part of our summer guitar hero rock. And until the next one, keep on rocking.